Welcome to Peninsula Newsmakers, a new weekly news program on Peninsula Television featuring the people making news here in San Mateo County. I'm Marshall Wilson. On Saturday, January 26, hundreds of people lined up at the San Mateo County Event Center to trade in firearms for cash. The event was an anonymous gun buyback program sponsored by Congresswoman Jackie Spear, San Mateo County Supervisor Adrian Tissier, and San Mateo County Sheriff Greg Monks. I'm here with Tom Gallagher, a captain in the Sheriff's Office, who was out there at the event. And first off, by the numbers, what did you see out there at the gun buyback?
Well, Marshall, we received 680 guns, and a breakdown of that is actually 24 assault-type weapons, 285 handguns, and 371 long guns, which would be a rifle or shotgun.
So how much cash was actually handed out?
We handed out $63,500 during the event.
That is a lot of cash.
It is a lot of cash.
Now, was taxpayer money used for that? I understand it was fundraising that got that cash, correct?
You're correct. The primary fundraising was through Congresswoman Jackie Spear. Matter of fact, it was probably the largest amount of $25,000. And then donors brought in through Board of Supervisor and the Sheriff that accomplished this.
Well, critics of gun buybacks say they're not really successful in that criminals aren't going to trade in a $1,500 assault weapon for $200. They're not going to go and trade in a pistol that can net them hundreds of dollars on the street for, say, $100 in cash. So what do you say to people who criticize these types of events?
Well, first off, we did get assault weapons turned in, so that's a start. Second, it's not necessarily it wasn't our plan to get gang members or criminals to bring in their guns that they've used in a particular crime. Our goal was to get guns that have been left at home, at different people's homes and businesses where they're not using them anymore, and there's a likelihood that a criminal might go into their house, burglarize their house, take that weapon, and then use that weapon out on the streets.
So there are people who were lined up there. Did you get a chance to talk to some of the people who were handing over their guns? What were sort of their stories that they told about why they were doing that?
I talked to a few of the people. We tried to keep things as anonymous, of course. That was one of our promises. But some of the people, the guns were handed down to them over time. Some of them had purchased them before. For instance, somebody with a hunting rifle and was not hunting any longer and decided it was time to turn in the hunting rifle. Matter of fact, we had more than one person. We had several people turn in their weapons and not accept cash for the weapons that they turned in.
Well, here's a question I have. Why is it anonymous? You're talking about assault weapons, and under California law, many assault weapons are illegal to possess. I understand that you guys also found some weapons that have the serial numbers scraped off of them, which is illegal to do. Why make it anonymous? You have people there, in possession of an illegal weapon.
Again, some people have had these weapons for a long period of time, and they didn't know themselves whether or not the weapon was illegal, or it has become illegal since the time they possessed it. The gun laws have changed over the years, and if they inherited the firearm and at this point now didn't know what to do with it, this was the opportunity to bring it in. Same thing happens with those guns where the serial numbers were taken off. Not likely that they were the original person to take off the serial number. It was probably given to them, or they purchased it unwittingly prior to having to register weapons, and that's how they came across that weapon.
Well, we've seen pictures of just, boxes of guns, piles of them. What happens when someone turns it in? What are the steps that it undergoes now for the next steps? So
with the weapons that do have serial numbers and the weapons that were in our state registration system, we'll check those and see if they were actually stolen in a previous burglary. And if we're able to locate the rightful owner, we will make contact with them and see if they want that weapon back. We'll also give them the opportunity, since if the weapon's been missing that long, to just go ahead and turn the weapon in and keep it forfeited as somebody has already turned in the gun. The other option is, as far as what do we do with the rest of the weapons, the rest of the weapons will be destroyed now. We'll dismantle them. We frequently take firearms for destruction, and it's a process that we do a couple of times a year.
Now, if someone has a gun at home and they couldn't make it to the buyback for whatever reason, but they want to dispose of it for whatever reason, how do they go about doing that?
Sure. It's not unlikely that people still want to dispose of guns. At this time, we don't have a mechanism to pay them for their firearm, but if they do want to turn in their weapon, they can call to a local police department, or I believe showing on our screen is going to be a contact number for our community police unit, and certainly we would be willing to come out and pick up that firearm for them.
So tell me a little bit more about the guns that were found out there. Were they mostly old hunting rifles? You said there were about 24 assault weapons. By assault weapons, what do you mean? What is an assault weapon? I think we all hear that term a lot, but a lot of people really don't understand what that means.
There was at least, what I saw out there, at least one AK-47, which is a high capacity magazine attached to that weapon. Probably at least 30 rounds can be put into that rifle. There was other type of high capacity rifles, and usually the larger capacity magazines are what we consider the assault weapons, AR-15 type weapon. There was at least one magazine that had a 100 round capacity. So those were the ones that were brought in.
And I understand the sheriff actually had one that was something called a street sweeper. What is that?
So a street sweeper is just capable of sending off large quantities of ammunition in a short period of time. I mean, it does a significant amount of damage. And they got the name of street sweeper by just the amount of ammunition that it could disperse at a short period of time.
And in fact, we have a brief video clip of Sheriff Monks out at the gun buyback demonstrating the street sweeper and why weapons like that really shouldn't be on the street.
This is what's called the street sweeper. It's a 12-gauge shotgun that has a rotary drum right here that can fire, I believe it's 20 rounds. You can load with 20 rounds and you can fire it as fast as you pull the trigger.
You know his number,
the name, it's called a street sweeper, which tells you what it's really designed for, which is to really to wreak havoc. It's very deadly. Of all the guns that we've taken out today, this is probably the most dangerous in terms of the damage that it can do. Designed for close range combat, and it's illegal because of the capacity of the drum.
So I guess it's kind of self-evident what the purpose of the weapon is by the very name of it.
You could really spray a large crowd of people with that weapon.
So a good weapon to have off the street for sure.
It's a great weapon, and again, it gets back to, did the person who had gone out and committed a crime come to us and turn in that gun for $200 because assault weapons we paid $200 for? And absolutely not. But if somebody had collected that gun and had it in their house and never really had a use for it other than collection, if the home had been burglarized, that's how these guns are getting off the streets. The other thing sometimes we don't think about is, if you have that weapon in your house, you may choose to use it for self-harm or anything else. Sometimes it's good if people feel uncomfortable having the firearm in their house. This is a mechanism to get it out of there.
It almost sounds like this is a little bit separate than the whole national debate raging right now about gun control. I mean, it's obviously related, but it's not really taking a stand in one camp or another about gun control. It's basically, there's some guns out in the street that people don't want or in homes. Let's get rid of them.
Absolutely. The sheriff's office is not taking a stand on anybody's rights to bear arms. It's more of if you're not using them, turn them in. And you'd be surprised at the number of people, when it comes time their home is burglarized, they didn't really realize that they still had a firearm in their house, and at that point it was missing. It does happen.
And what are some lessons learned? I understand you've already been contacted by another agency to find out how it went, and any advice you have for them?
Yeah, definitely. Lessons learned were, we were overwhelmed with the amount of response that came out there. Other counties had prepared and for large amounts of people to come out. We estimated we were probably going to get somewhere in the area of 300 guns, so it more than doubled the amount of guns that we took off the streets. The problem that we're facing right now is just storage between now and the time of destruction, and that's one of the things that I've already shared with another agency is it's the storage of these weapons. And we have secured storage area, but it took up an entire van to bring all those weapons back.
Yeah, we've seen pictures of just piles and piles of firearms.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
So do you think the sheriff's office is going to want to do this again, maybe at another location in the county, or is it something you're going to be evaluating?
We'll take a look at it and see. I know other cities within the county have been interested also in hosting a gun buyback, and I think we could try to help support them logistically, and if the need arises, I'm certain that the sheriff would help facilitate another gun buyback. We really rely on the community support and getting donations so that it's not using taxpayer money to pay for these gun buybacks.
Now, if someone wanted to donate and get involved in this, who would they contact?
I would contact the same number that we're displaying. That's our community police office, and we definitely can put them in touch with the right people.
All right, we're running out of time. Any final thoughts about the gun buyback?
No, I just really appreciate all the community support. There was some bit of traffic congestion in the beginning that we took care of, and it's an important cause. We definitely took some guns off the streets that could have hurt somebody, so we appreciate it.
All right, Captain Gallagher, thank you for joining me on Peninsula Newsmakers. Watch for Peninsula Newsmakers on Peninsula Television every week and on the web at pentv.tv. Thanks for joining us.